Welcome back to Eldar Unit Reviews. Pickles856 has refused to do Eldrad on the ground that he hates him, which is very reasonable, because there would be a large group of people who are very clever that would make a very reasonable comment that Eldrad is the most overpowered thing in the game. Now, I'm not saying they're wrong, because they're not. He's very good, and this is why you should take Eldar. I think we might actually change the name of this video in his honor, because he died to save the Eldar. This is why you should take Eldrad. He is weapon skill 5, with skill 5, good. Strength 3, he's Eldar, we don't care. Toughness 4, oh my god, an Eldar guy with toughness 4? What is this madness? He's the only guy in the whole Eldar Codex with toughness 4. The only one. For no reason, it's not explained in the fluff, he's just old. I believe. He has initiative 5, 1 attack, 4 move, leadership 10 and absolutely no armor save. Now you're saying to me, Harry, why is this guy good? That's awful stats. Let me show you Marlon's Cobra stats. I don't want to see his stats. Okay. He's an independent character. He can join squads, so he can get lookout cell rolls. This gets slightly ridiculous, and is something a rule that is called Immortal Eldrad, which is what I've named it. He is a psyker and has every single power, just by right. He owns every power in the Eldar Codex, and he can mix and match his powers how he best choose. His powers of foresight are amazing. For the game starts, you can redeploy D3+1 units. I've talked about this in a previous video, how ridiculous this is. To pick your whole army up and go removing it to the other side of the board. And your opponent goes, what? You can't. Yeah, off we go, off the other side of the board, and you're now out of rank with everything. Just messed you up. It's just the most effective tactic because you can't stop it. Your opponent deploys, right? And when you deploy, he can only deploy how he thinks he should. Because if he deploys stupidly, fool you to redeploy, you don't. And if he deploys well, then you redeploy. There is no way in the game of defeating this unless you can redeploy back, which the Dark Eldar can do. That is the only way to beat this, to redeploy back. That is basically it. His wargear includes Sharpened Pistol, Witchblade, Runes of Warding, Runes of Witnessing, Ghost Helm, Spirit Stones, Staff of Ulthmar. Yep, we're going to pronounce that. Ulthmar. Okay, Sharpened Pistol, very good. Pew pew with his little pistol. 12-inch range, it's a pistol. A Witchblade. Wounds on a 2+ in assault and rolls 2d6 for armor pens. Yeah, we're not going to be attacking tanks with this guy. Oh no. Okay, Runes of Warding. Best anti-psyker defense in the game, without any shadow of a doubt. Your opponent rolls his psychic tests on 3d6 and takes perils of 12 or over. He will die really fast. He will, let's say he needs to take 6 psychic tests a game. He's averagely going to fail every single time, because you averagely roll 2 3s and a 4, or 3 and 2 4s, which is 10 or 11. So the average psyker will pass one, fail one, pass one, fail one, and perils most of his fails. So an average psyker has 2 wounds, so he'll kill himself. You don't even have to care about enemy psykers. You just put Eldrad on the board and they all start killing themselves. It gets hilarious when your opponent's brought a Space Wolf army with four Rune Priests with Divination, and you watch as they all kill themselves very slowly, and Eldrad sits at the back of the board going, with his runes on the floor going, die, die, die. And there's Runes of Witnessing, because you know if your opponent can't pass his psychic test, you should always pass your psychic test. He rolls on 3d6, differences, he discards the highest. The only rolls he fails on is 3 6s, or 2 6s and a 5, or, yep, they're the only rolls he fails on. Every other type of roll he passes his psychic test on. Yes, this increases his chances of perilsing on a double 1, but the power still comes off. And you have your Ghost Helm. This allows you to take a 3-up save against perils of the warp. Now this is very useful. The first power you should always cast with Eldrad is Fortune. You Fortune Eldrad and his squad. You Fortune it. Oh no, I failed on a double 1, but the power has passed. I now can re-roll my Ghost Helm roll. He will never take a Perils of the Warp. Ever. If you re-roll, if you take your your fortune first. Always do fortune. Right. He then has spirit stones. This makes him a mastery level 3 psyker. Now what does this mean? Well, this means you can go to the rulebook, take telepathy, and you get 4 rolls. Your chances of getting the invisibility one at the end are incredibly high. And if you haven't heard of the most overpowered Eldar thing, it's called the Invisi Council. It is the only way that Eldar players win tournaments, the one and only way. And Eldrad allows you to almost always get the Invisi Council. If you want Eldrad and a Farseer, you will always get the Invisi Council. It's basically making your... What it means is you take your already quite overpowered Psychic Council, and then you make them invisible. They get stealth, they get shrouded, they don't die. But you can... So... Right, the options are you get invisibility. There's 2 ones you really want. So you get 4 rolls on this. Okay, you have stealth and shrouded. Models can't use counterattack against you. And when you assault the unit you assault is weapon skill of 1. Wow. And you can do that to any unit within 24 inches. So you can make your big, fat, anything squad that's charging up the board. You can make your big Avatar of Cain invisible to the opponent. That's very useful. Right. Hallucination. Any unit within 24, you roll a d6. On a 1 or 2, they get pinned. Wonderful. On a 3, they have to stand still, or a 4. On a 5 and a 6, they all attack each other. You are always going to get one of these powers, and the opponent will hate you. You can also roll on divination with Eldrad. So not only is he brilliant, he gets to roll on the 2 best psychic discipline tables and have 4 rolls on them because of his spirit stones. Right. Let's just add up all this war gear and you'll find something very interesting. Despite, if I was to build a Farseer with all this stuff that Eldrad has, and he wouldn't be Master Level 3, and he wouldn't have the amazing stuff I'll tell you about in a minute, and he wouldn't have Toughness 4, and he wouldn't have 3 wounds, and he wouldn't, no, he would have 3 wounds, and he wouldn't have the 3+ invulnerable save, you're going to see in a minute, he has special armor, he would cost more. There is no reason, not one reason, to not take Eldrad if you play Eldar. You can't actually give any reason not to do it. You are paying the price of a cheaper thing for more stuff for less points. That doesn't exist with anywhere else in 40k, and which is why you have to do it. Let's come with this wargame. Has rune armor. 3 up and roll will save that he gets to reroll. 2 3-ups is better than 2 up. And he always gets it because it's an invulnerable save. You cannot stop him basically living. Now, let's say we've casted Fortune, and he's in a massive group of models. It's a group of 10 Pathfinders, where I generally put my guy. He then gets 10 Lookout Sir rolls, re-rolling. Let's see how hard it is to kill Eldrad. You have to pass. You have to fail 24 up saves and 2 3-ups. How often will you do that? You won't do it. You will never do it in a game. I've never played any game ever where I failed 24 rolls over 4-up ever in a row. If you've done that, you are the most unlucky player ever. That's taking the entire dice cube and rolling it, and not one dice being a 4 over. That is how hard he is to kill. But he gets better. I know, he feels so underpowered. In Assault, it means his staff means he can cast the same power twice. Oh my days. He can cast the same power twice. Let's go back to the tables. You can guarantee to cast 2 presciences, or prescience, I want to say it. And this staff gets better. In Assault, he wounds on a 2+ and completely ignores the opponent's armor. Meaning, he's actually quite good at challenges. I psychic him up, he's rolling all his hits, all his wounds. He goes in, he's got 3 attacks on the charge. He'll do alright. He'll generally get 2 hits, all wounds. You can generally go into a tactical squad when they wound you, challenge their sergeant, and kill him off. You can't even assault Eldrad to death, because he can hand up in challenges. Okay, what's the other great things you can do with Eldrad? Right, let's do things you'll never do. Let's go through some common mistakes. Eldar psychic powers are cast at the beginning of your turn. Do not make the mistake I have made 3 billion times and moved your first Dire Avenger and then forgot you've missed all Eldrad's powers out. Write on a note of paper, do Eldrad's powers, and you'll never forget. Next thing to make sure you do, never cast an aggressive power. Eldrad is great for more reasons than one of which he always casts his psychic powers. Would we not want your opponent having those god-awful deny the witch rolls there was no reason to put in at all? An orc and a Tau who has no connection to the warp can deny it? That's nonsense. Especially when they've got psykers nearby and deny the witches end up on 2 pluses. So our old power of Doom used to be brilliant. You only cast Doom if the opponent has not a psyker in sight and you really need it. The ones we want to be casting are Guides and Fortunes. We don't want that stupid Eldritch Storm Blast of Patheticness or the Mind War thing. We don't want any of those powers. Cast Fortune and Guide. You roll all your hits. You roll all your armor saves. You can pick your squads up. You send that out with a reroll armor save. You send him out with rerolling armor save. Right. Another overpowered tactic here. See, I really love Eldrad. You take a squad. You take an independent character. Eldrad. You cast your Fortune on him. You run into a squad. You then join independent characters to your squad, and you run them away at the end of the turn, and you then give Fortune to a lot of units. It's a very popular tactic if you're feeling like being a horrible person. I've never done it myself because I don't agree it should exist, but a lot of players do use it. In tournaments, it's always a major argument. Does it work? Does it not work? Can you pass Fortune around? I don't think you can, but it's something to keep in mind. If your club allows it, there's no reason why you shouldn't pass Fortune to every other player. Certainly cast it on himself and then run into a squad. I suggest you do that. You just can't pass it squad. Right. So, how do we use Eldrad? Where are we going to put him? Very popular options are following an avatar of Khaine around the board, fortuning the avatar, himself, and his entourage, which is usually Harlequins if they get on the board like that. So they're re-rolling their 2+ cover. The avatar's re-rolling all his saves, everyone's re-rolling all their dice, and you very quickly win the matches. Another tactic is behind an Aegis defense line, casting Fortune on himself and his squad, guiding the guys operating the quad gun, guiding his own unit of 10 Pathfinders. I think all the people I play will know this is my most used tactic. Eldrad behind an Aegis with a squad and a quad gun, utilising the Eldrad powers. Basically, all the overpowered Eldar stuff in one beautiful bubble of overpowered Eldar. Okay, what are Eldrad's weaknesses? Doesn't have Eternal Warrior. Gotta accept that. I've heard of matches where people have just killed Eldrad off straight away. 1 strength 8 weapon, a missile launcher from a long-plan squad. Anything. The cannon from a Defiler. Pie plates. There goes Eldrad. Don't pretend this guy's going to live forever, because he won't. You have to protect Eldrad. Protect and conserve him. Another common misconception is you see his staff and you go, oh, I'm going to put him in close combat. Yes, he can cost 2 powers a turn in close combat, because it says it. But he loses a power and he's completely useless. Eldrad is the best thing in the Eldar Codex. Eldrad is arguably the best thing in Warhammer. Do not waste him. Eldrad gets a 10 out of 10 without any shadow of a doubt.
I'll give him a -10 because I just find him.
10 out of 10 without a doubt. There's no one that would ever argue that he's not good unless you're an idiot and you really just don't know anything about Warhammer and you go, oh, he's not very good. Why? I don't know if he doesn't have very good guns. Eldrad is the epitome of what Eldar are good at, which is having weak units and making them powerful units with psychic powers. Who knows what the next edition will bring to Eldrad? I don't know what they'll bring to him. I think he'll get the blowout treatment. He'll go up very much in points. He's 210 points, by the way, so he's stupidly underpriced. But he'll get more powerful. Eldar are going to be buffed. Everyone who says they're not are wrong. They're going to be buffed. They are the only army that never wins a tournament these days. I went on the Adepticon winners from the last few years. Guess what won it? Space Wolves have won, Guard have won, Marines have won, Blood Angels have won, Orcs have won. Eldrad aren't even taken. It took me down. Do you know the greatest finish I could see in Adepticon for the last 5 years for an Eldar army was, I think, 16th? That's awful. No army is that bad. I think only Tyranids were worse than that. And I know people argue, have said in my last video, oh, you're being too unkind to Tyranids. Tyranids aren't good enough anymore. Stop pretending they are. They're not good enough. You might be the Tyranid master at Club of Noobs, but still. There's a reason you don't see one Tyranid army in top level. The only army that's worse than Tyranids is Demons. Probably. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for saying all these horrible things about armies. Even the Dark Eldar are better than the Eldar, because of their ability to poison and confuse, and the fact they can whiz around the board at a billion miles an hour, and the amount of poison shots. But, if there is one guy in the next edition that has to be nerfed, it is Eldrad. This is Warhammer Walton. He is the greatest thing in 40k in my opinion, and I